Hello, everyone. My name is Nicola Champoux, and I am a master's student at the University of Victoria, and I'm currently on my first co-op semester with the Yuułuʔił្�atḥ government. I'm working alongside Morgan, and I am in the archivist role, and I'm studying public administration at UVic. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that I am a settler of European, Asian, and Aboriginal Australian descent. And I'd like to acknowledge that when I live in Victoria, I go to school and live on Lekwungen Speakins unceded territory. And right now I'm living in Yuułuʔił្�atḥ, thankfully, because of the money that John has set aside for Morgan and I, so we can live in Yuułuʔił្�atḥ, which is an amazing opportunity. And I work in Hitatsu on their territory. So my presentation today is about YG. I know there's many acronyms. This means Yuułuʔił្�atḥ government, because there's been so many acronyms this week, and my proposed archival division. I have not yet met with the leadership, and I've only met with one elder so far, so these things may change in the future. Do I have to control my own? Oh, okay. I don't know how to do that. Just click maybe? Oh, there. Okay. Figured it out. Sorry about that. So just a quick table of contents. I'll be talking about my proposed archival division, some of the values we have, a funding opportunity, the different priorities, the timeline, and then our next steps. Okay. So just a little bit of background. Some of your archives may look like this, not the most organized. Some of them may be in basements. Some of them might not be. There's a very large variety, but hopefully we will all move into some different buildings. Yeah, here's some comments about how everyone's archives are. Ours do not look like this, but I will not include any photos in this presentation. So priorities in the past, most archivists that I've spoken to have the formal colonial archival training, and they acknowledge that it's colonial based. And within colonial archival training, there are a lot of strict protocols and standards. But with a lot of the non-Indigenous archivists that I've met who work for Indigenous archives, which is a very long title, they acknowledge that they've all had this archival training, but are including Indigenous focus, Indigenous approaches with the community, with their nation, and with their elders. And they like to acknowledge that as non-Indigenous archivists, they act as placeholders and hold this knowledge to then transfer to Indigenous archivists when they wish to fill this role. This is what I might want part of our archives to look like. This is a reference photo. So personally, I dream of the archival division for the Yuułuʔił្�atḥ government, where community members have digital access to their culture and heritage. This is the leadership's primary goal. As John mentioned, we have a database called the Community Knowledge Keeper, or the CKK, and this is the database we'll be using to input all of our culture and heritage materials so people can access all of their culture and heritage. And of course, this archival division, which probably will not be called an archives, I've spoken with one elder who is contemplating what the name of this will be, probably from the Barclay or the Nuu-chah-nulth language. And all of these things will be focused around the community, what their needs are, approved by the elder and leadership, and built around everyone's priorities. So this is a preliminary vision and record statement and mandate. These may completely change over time. But the main parts of these is the right to preserve, use, and display and access their culture and heritage materials in alignment with their traditional knowledge, traditional governance approaches, and with the community focus, as well as a separate records management, because these are two different systems that work together but are separate. So first I wanted to highlight a federal funding opportunity. It has closed for this year, but if your archives need a little bit of work, like I will mention about ours in a moment, it might give you some time to apply for the next round of this annual funding opportunity. This is done by Library and Archives Canada, and this supports up to 20, it chooses 25 nations each year, and you can receive up to $100,000 in funding. This can be put towards any kind of digitization and building knowledge, and also includes training. And it usually closes at the end of January, and then it will start the next April. So we'll be starting on April 1st of this year, and it is an amazing opportunity, which, as John said, I found out an hour before it closed and quickly applied and asked for forgiveness later. Of course, he was happy. So some of the different priorities that our nation has, as I've said already, I've only met with one of our elders so far, but she has a dream. Her name is Vi Mundy, and her dream is an archival and a records management system, two separate systems. And one of her dreams includes an archival building. And this space would be a communal space, because when I met with her, she spoke about how she's worked for the nation, no longer, but she worked for the nation for many years. And she found that her kitchen table was a communal space. And this archival building could include some kind of communal space where elders could meet and have a projector similar to this and meet and discuss their culture and history and have the videos and the songs and the stories accessible right there. This could also be a way that the youth could come and meet with them and they could connect to their culture and heritage on a different level. The nation or the leadership's priorities, as I've mentioned, is the launch of this community knowledge keeper to give digital access to the culture and heritage. And as the archivist, my two goals, because I'm only in this position until mid-April, is to create a safe climate-controlled space, which will be within CCANs, and this will house our physical and record materials temporarily, as well as creating backups of the nation's documents in multiple ways, whether that's a redundant drive or cloud storage that's stored in Canada or multiple external drives. So I'm proposing that this happen in 3 stages, actually 4, but 3 main stages for co-op students. Myself as the first co-op student, stage 1 is the physical files, as I found out recently that this building will be demolished. So I had to pivot from digitization to physical files. So moving the physical files into CCANs, which will hopefully be bought in the next couple of weeks. So this can prevent further degradation, as we live in a very humid climate. And these files are within a basement that doesn't have any climate control. So I really need to buy a dehumidifier very shortly. The second part of this project will be starting hopefully in May with the next co-op student. And this would be creating an organizational system and an inventory of the 2 of the archives and the record management systems. These would be in the CCANs after they've gone through the proper pest control, which is a 30-day period, and that they've all been put into new bankers boxes, as the ones we have currently are not safe. They have too many environmental factors that are not safe for humans to be around. So this next stage, part 2, we'll be creating these systems. Hopefully, as we've talked, Crystal talked about succession and knowledge transmission. I can take the knowledge that I've learned through an ABC workshop and all of the research I've done and consulting with other archivists and pass this along to the next student so the nation can keep this information and it doesn't just leave with me. And we can build an organizational system online, as well as inventorying all about 300 boxes we have so far of our physical archives. Part 3 would be in September. I may come back because I have a second co-op semester to complete. So this could be me again. And this would be kind of a beta launch of the community knowledge keeper, as this would include digitizing all of our physical materials, as well as organizing our digital materials into a more organized system on our shared drive and subsequent backups. And this would allow us to launch, I'm hoping in January of 2024. That date might change, but the data entry is the part that might take the longest into the community knowledge keeping database. And stage 4, I don't have yet, but it's a rough idea of hopefully launching, as I said, in January of 2024. And then in the summer, June 2024, I would hope that the archival building could be built by that date, but that might be a little far-fetched, but that's my dream. So here's just a quick overview again of the timeline. Phase 1, it aligns with each co-op student. So 1 was myself, 2 is the summer, and 3 could be myself again, with the launch, hopefully, of January 2024 for our database, which would establish better trust with the nation, community members as they wish to donate a lot of their physical and digital archive materials to us, but we don't have a safe place to put them yet. So I'm really trying to halt anyone from donating anything to us yet. So I'm hoping that this database launch will show that they can now either lend or donate to us, so then we can digitize for them, hopefully through that annual funding through the Library and Archives Canada. So our next steps. So in the next 2.5 months that I'm in this position, I'm hoping to transport all of the archival materials, purchase the proper digital equipment to ensure secure backups of the nation's documents, and to begin applications for grant funding towards the support of the construction of an archival building. And as you see, I've included the Truth and Reconciliation call to actions. Number 70 is relating to archives, and this call to action was only one of 2 completed in 2022. And this included a report that was led by the ACA, which is the Association of Canada Archives, and it worked with archivists across Canada, and they came up with 10 recommendations to create a reconciliation framework for Canadian archives. It's still very colonial based. While this call to action is marked complete on their website, the work has yet to start, truly. No major action has taken place. And I'm meeting with the primary archivist who wrote this report to ask about the deliverables and timeline for truly creating positive change for archives in Canada. And while this report has just been completed, the work is just beginning with everyone in the nations and their archives. And I hope that our nation's archival division can help build and support other nations' archival aspirations. Thank you.